Okay, it's been a while. I think the 29th, that makes it close to 2 weeks since I did one of these types of videos. Weekend before last, I did a number of videos on other things that we have going on, but this time I'm kind of back onto what's it like for me? What's going on? What am I reading about? And, well, this isn't really about what I'm reading about. That's just what this is going to be about. And you really can't avoid reading about all of the COVID, coronavirus, and all that stuff that's going on. One article that I read, and I can't remember exactly where it came from, but the question was, when will it end? How will we know that it's over, that it's end? And it's really difficult to define an end. And this particular article was talking about there being really two types of ends. One of them is kind of the kind you would expect. It's called the medical. And that's when death rates plummet. People aren't dying from it anymore. It could be like the 1968 flu that just became not so strong. It mutated into a weaker form rather than mutating into a stronger form. People build up immunities. We come up with a vaccine, all those types of things that you would expect it to be medically. The other one that I think is really interesting, and I think we're seeing this happen, and in fact, the article was written in the past tense. It was written, that the COVID-19 was, and I think it was written for longevity. But that's called the social. And basically that is, people just get tired of it. They're just not going to worry about it anymore. And I think that's probably real similar to what we experience with the other causes of death that we have in society, that we're just going to accept it as a risk. Driving a car is dangerous. A lot of substance abuse is dangerous, but it kind of happens. It still goes on, and we just put up with it or learn to live with it or just cope as a society because we're tired of living underneath the difficulties brought on with trying to stay away from it, which I think is really interesting. So, I think with all of the protests that we're seeing and I haven't really heard it called civil disobedience, but I think that's what it is. It is disobedience against the civil authorities. Is that a thing? Don't know. But anyhow, we're seeing that. And I think that's all a part of this social end of the pandemic. But like it said, defining the end is really difficult. Along that same lines, I've been talking to more people about, is this a conspiracy? Can I say that out loud? Can I record that? And people that I've been talking to that I wouldn't have really expected to think that or be willing to even talk about it are actually embracing it. They're wondering about a lot of the things and the behaviors and the actions of some of the people that are countries looking toward for information on it, looking at their past and saying, this is kind of suspicious. One article that I was reading comes from the Illinois Department of Public Health. Well, it was written about them. Their director was saying that, I got my iPad here, that even if you were in hospice and had just a few weeks to live, if you had been diagnosed or found positive for the coronavirus and died, that becomes a COVID death, even if it wasn't really the cause of death. And I've heard this on a number of different places. This one's actually written down from a medical professional, published by a journalist, all valid journalism. So some of the things you see on YouTube that keeps getting taken down, I don't know. But that really kind of leads me down this, why would we want to prolong it? Why would you want to report these things incorrectly? It's money. You get money, different money, federal money, I guess, if my money, now that I think about it, if somebody dies from the coronavirus, if they die from something that they were going to die from anyhow, it's nothing. It's just the regular thing. So that, I think that's really kind of bad. And I just heard here on the news that we got the coronavirus gene sequencing from Wuhan. Really? Kind of the place that started it all? I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, I think, to be thinking about it and wondering who would profit. Why would they do that? Are there really people this bad in the world, that bad in the world, to do something like this or perpetuate something like this? It's just an interesting question. I'm getting a little bit stir crazy. It's a little harder to stay completely motivated and focused at work while communicating through these electronic means is okay. It's really hard to have a good conversation over this digital medium. And I've likened it before, and I'm going to continue to liken it to cell phones, where it's really hard to talk at the same time, which, yes, that's called interrupting. You shouldn't do that. Well, that's not the way communication works. There's a lot of communications that go on that isn't necessarily interrupting. And you see it, you know it, you see it within your family. So I think that's making me a little stir crazy. This last weekend we went out for a drive. That was fun, and we explored an area we'd never explored before. Just Joan and I. And that was good. That was nice to get out. We also, if you've been following my videos, you know that I have a sourdough starter, and we made sourdough bread. We cheated. We used a bread machine, but it was good. We enjoyed it. It's fun to have, the sourdough that we make. Work is picking up. Things are getting a little better there. I'm still working from home, but work is still, or is beginning to pick up. A lot more people at work. The orders are coming in. Manufacturing is getting itself put back together. We're very glad to see that, very happy to see that. I don't know when I'm going to go back in, or most of the office staff. There are some of the office staff that is returning because some things are just not very efficient or productive from home. You can get by on a lower level, but when the levels are returning to normal, you kind of need to have people at work. So I've got one person in my department that's going in periodically because sometimes you just got to put your hands on the computer. Sometimes you just got to see what's actually happening. Sometimes you got to swap a battery in a scanner, and it's really hard to do that remotely. Yeah, so I'm glad for that. I think that's about it. Everything else is moving along pretty well. Got to see my son over this past weekend, which was great to see him. And I think he enjoyed hanging out with us. I do have one last thing. It's very controversial, but I would appreciate your comments in the comments below on your opinion of this. As you know, I'm periodically prone to an opinion, once in a while, sometimes. But in my opinion, these are the perfect candy. If there was only one candy on the planet left to have, I think these are it. Agree? And don't say Skittles. There is no peanut Skittles. I can't imagine how horrible a peanut Skittles would be. Peanut M&Ms, regular, peanut M&Ms. Don't get me wrong. I like the coffee ones. I like the strawberry ones. Kind of like the brittle ones. Regular peanut M&Ms. Number one. Leave a comment for me. Bye.